Huge thanks to Dulaxi for sponsoring this deep dive. All right, let's dive into the world of Flatfoot Sam and his latest single, Wetiko. It's not really like a typical song, it's more of a sonic experience.
Yeah, it's very different.
You probably know Flatfoot Sam. He's been around since the 90s, a real veteran of the dance music scene. But this is something else.
He's really pushing boundaries with this one. It's really fascinating. He's blended trip-hop, left-field electronica, and then this really chilling concept from Native American mythology.
Right. It's like he's channeling all those years on the dance floor into something totally unexpected.
Yeah.
Before we get into Wetiko itself, can you give us some background? Like, how did Flatfoot Sam end up creating this new sound?
Well, back in 2020, during the lockdowns, when all the clubs shut down, Flatfoot Sam had all this time to experiment, to kind of explore his creative limits. That's when TripField was born. It's like his own unique fusion of genres.
TripField, yeah, that name's everywhere now. But it's more than just a mashup of trip-hop and left field, right?
It is. It's very deliberate with its own specific characteristics. Those flowing bass lines, the hypnotic rhythms, and then there's this touch of that Balearic vibe, that kind of music that makes you want to dance under the open sky. It's danceable, but also deeply immersive.
Makes sense.
And Wetiko is a prime example of that TripField sound.
Let's talk about that title, Wetiko. It's a pretty loaded word. It's not just a random word he picked, is it?
No, definitely not. Wetiko. It comes from Native American mythology. It represents this malevolent force, something that feeds on greed, destruction, human suffering. But Flatfoot Sam doesn't just, mention the concept. He actually embeds it in the music. It's like the music itself is meant to evoke the feeling of Wetiko.
That unsettling presence lurking beneath the surface.
Exactly.
You usually expect the dance track to hit you with a big beat right away. Wetiko is completely different.
It is. It's a slow burn. Instead of that driving beat, it starts with this gradual build, this immersive soundscape. You hear these echoing sounds, almost like you're in a cavern or something. Then there are these ethereal chants, almost ghostly.
It's almost ritualistic, like the song is summoning something ancient. It's kind of creepy, actually.
Yeah.
Gives me chills.
Exactly. It sets this mood of anticipation and unease right from the start. It's like the music is drawing you into this dark, mysterious world.
And that's the essence of Wetiko.
Yeah.
Then you finally get the beat, but even the rhythm is pretty unusual for dance music.
It is. This is where that TripField influence really comes in. It's not that relentless pounding you might expect. It's more of a slow, deliberate pulse.
Like a heartbeat.
Yeah, almost like a heartbeat.
That would create a completely different energy on the dance floor.
Yeah.
More hypnotic, more trance-inducing.
Exactly. And it plays into that concept of Wetiko as this living, growing force. It's subtle, but it's really effective. The rhythm pulls you in. You kind of sink into the flow of the music. You're not just listening anymore. You're part of the experience.
So we've got this primal beat, this unsettling atmosphere. What about the melody? I've heard people say Wetiko has these really captivating melodic elements.
It does. That's where things get really interesting. Flatfoot Sam doesn't rely on those traditional static melodies. He uses these layered synth pads that are constantly shifting and evolving.
It's like the melody itself is alive, always in motion.
Yeah, exactly. Think of it like a landscape, with hills and valleys, light and shadow. The textures are changing, the harmonies are shifting. And through these subtle transitions, he creates emotion, movement. It keeps you engaged. You're always wondering what's going to happen next.
You're on the edge of your seat, not knowing what to expect. And then there are the vocals. They're not really lead vocals in the traditional sense.
No, they're not. It's more like they're another layer of texture in the soundscape. Imagine these ghostly chants woven into the music with reverb and delay, like voices from another world.
Which again, plays into that mystical, haunting vibe of the Wetiko.
Yeah.
It's like the force itself is whispering to you.
Exactly. He uses every element of the music to reinforce that central concept. And that includes the instrumentation. It's this incredible blend of the old and the new.
You've got those primal tribal rhythms, almost like something from an ancient ritual mixed with cutting-edge electronic sounds. It's like a bridge between the past and the future.
Yeah, like earthy drum tones for that raw, primal feel. And then you've got these sharp, almost metallic synth textures. It creates this tension, this push and pull between the familiar and the unsettling. Really effective.
And it's not just this overwhelming wall of sound. There's space in the music, room for each element to breathe.
That's right. That's a hallmark of his production style. He's not afraid of silence. He uses it to create depth and dimension. Doesn't rely on heavy compression or loudness. The power of Wetiko comes from the dynamics, the way each element interacts with the others.
Yeah, it's a truly three-dimensional listening experience. You can hear that attention to detail. It's not just about making a loud track. It's about crafting a whole world of sound. Makes you want to listen again and again to catch all the nuances.
Absolutely. It's like peeling back layers of a complex artwork. Every listen reveals something new, and that's exactly how he wants Wetiko to be experienced as a journey into the darkness that can reside within us all.
So what's he trying to say with all of this? What's the deeper message behind Wetiko? We'll unpack that after a quick, just kidding. We're diving right back in. Let's talk about what this all means.
I think on one level, Wetiko is just this brilliant exploration of this ancient concept. You know, he's taking something from Native American mythology and giving it this really modern sonic interpretation.
Yeah, it's not your typical dance track. It feels like he's trying to say something deeper about human nature.
Exactly. The Wetiko, this force of greed and destruction, it's not some, external entity. It's something that exists within all of us.
Oh, wow.
It's that part of us that wants more, 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 that craves power, control, even at the expense of others.
Right, yeah. It's interesting because the music itself isn't static. It's always evolving, shifting, changing.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so compelling. We start in this dark, unsettling place with the echoing sounds and the chanting, but there's this sense of movement. It never really settles. It keeps pulling you forward.
So it's not just like this bleak warning about the Wetiko. There's a sense of hope, maybe, like we can actually break free from this destructive force.
That's a great question, and I think it's one that he wants us to really wrestle with. The music itself is a journey. We're confronted with this darkness, but there's also this sense of possibility. The rhythm, the melodies, the textures, they're all in flux.
Okay.
It suggests that transformation is possible if we're willing to, confront the Wetiko within ourselves.
It's amazing how he can spark these kinds of conversations through music. It's like you're not just bobbing your head to a beat. You're really thinking about these big ideas about human nature, society.
Yeah, it speaks to his artistry, his ability to create an experience that goes beyond just sound.
Yeah.
He's engaging us on an intellectual and emotional level.
And it's not just about individual greed or selfishness, right? You were saying before that Wetiko can also be interpreted on a societal level. How does that work?
Well, think about the world we live in. We're bombarded with messages telling us to buy more, consume more, strive for more, more, more.
Right.
It's this endless cycle of wanting and getting.
So that constant craving, that insatiable hunger, that could be seen as a manifestation of Wetiko on a larger scale.
Exactly. It's a powerful idea, isn't it? Could our modern-day obsession with growth and profit, our relentless pursuit of material wealth, be a form of Wetiko run wild?
Whoa. It's making me think about things in a whole new way. So is he offering any solutions? Or is he just leaving us with this kind of unsettling question?
I don't think he's giving us easy answers,
Yeah.
He's presenting us with this powerful concept, this sonic experience, and inviting us to draw our own conclusions. He's not preaching, he's provoking.
It's like he's saying, here's this ancient idea, this unsettling truth about human nature, both personal and collective. What are you going to do about it?
Exactly. And that's what makes Wetiko so impactful. It's a challenge, a call to action, a reminder that we have a choice. We can succumb to the Wetiko, or we can choose a different path. We can acknowledge it, understand it, and hopefully find a way to transcend it.
And that choice feels more urgent than ever, given the state of the world right now. Greed, conflict, environmental destruction. It often feels like the Wetiko is winning.
Yeah, it's easy to feel overwhelmed, but his music reminds us that we're not powerless.
Yeah.
Even in the face of darkness, art can inspire us to imagine a better future.
It's like a reminder that we have agency, but we can actually choose to create a different reality, even if it's just starting with ourselves, making different choices in our own lives.
Yeah, and those individual choices can ripple outwards, creating a collective shift. It's not about finding a magic solution.
Right.
It's about recognizing the Wetiko within ourselves and choosing a different path.
So Wetiko is more than just a song. It's a call to awareness, a call to action. And the way he's woven this ancient concept into the music is just brilliant.
Yeah, it's a testament to the power of art to make us think, to make us feel, and ultimately to inspire us to change.
This has been a fascinating conversation. But before we wrap things up, I want to talk a bit about the production of Wetiko, because it's so unique and it really contributes to the overall impact of the song. We were just talking about the production on Wetiko and how much it adds to the whole experience. It's so different from typical electronic music.
Yeah, it really is. It comes back to that idea of space and dynamics like we talked about before. He's not afraid to, let the music breathe. He's not trying to fill up every single space with sound.
Yeah, it's not like that wall of sound you get with so much electronic music these days. It feels much more deliberate, almost minimalist at times.
He's very intentional about creating that three-dimensional listening experience. Every sound has a purpose, a place, and the mastering is incredible. Clean, crisp, but not overcompressed at all. You can really hear all the textures, all the details.
Yeah, it's like every element has room to breathe, to really resonate.
Exactly. And that actually plays into the overall message of the song, that spaciousness, that sense of unease. It reflects the concept of Wetiko itself, this unseen force lurking beneath the surface.
It's interesting because the music is actually pretty minimal at times, but it feels so much bigger than it is. Like there's this whole world hidden within those sounds.
That's the power of restraint, of knowing when to hold back. It creates a sense of mystery, of intrigue. You're always drawn in, trying to figure out what's hidden beneath the surface.
And it makes Wetiko a song that you have to listen to multiple times. I feel like I hear new things every time I listen.
It's designed to be experienced that way, yeah. It's not a passive listening experience, It's an active engagement with the sound, with the ideas. You're constantly uncovering new details, new nuances, new layers of meaning.
It's like peeling back the layers of an onion. Or maybe a better analogy would be like exploring a dark forest. You never know what you might find around the next corner.
I like that. The point is, Wetiko is not a song you just consume and move on. It stays with you. It makes you think, makes you feel. And ultimately, it challenges you to confront some uncomfortable truths about yourself and the world around you.
That's what makes it so powerful and so relevant to what's going on in the world right now. This feeling that, the wet kick of this insatiable hunger for more is just running rampant.
Right. He's not offering easy answers, but he's giving us a really powerful tool for understanding the world and our place in it. Using music to spark a conversation, to challenge us to wake up and see things differently.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Wetiko, what's the one thing you want listeners to take away from this conversation?
Just remember that the Wetiko isn't some abstract concept from, ancient mythology. It's a living force that shapes our thoughts, our actions, and ultimately our world. But we're not powerless against it. By recognizing it, understanding it, and actively choosing a different path, we can begin to heal ourselves and our world.
Well said. And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder the mysteries of Wetiko. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and as always, thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.